Today we're going to dig into an invention from the 19th century that's so influential, you're almost certainly using some version of it right now. It's a piece of engineering that clicks, clacks, and has basically defined how we talk to our technology for over 150 years. I'm talking about the typewriter keyboard. All right, to get into this, let's start somewhere kind of surprising. The near future. Imagine this. You're at CES 2025, the biggest tech show in the world. All around you, there's AI, crazy robotics, you name it. And yet, one of the gadgets that has everyone talking isn't a huge leap forward. It's a very deliberate step back.
Yep, you heard that right. It's a device inspired by a machine that's a century and a half old. So that brings us to the big question. In our super fast, super digital world, why are we so fascinated by the technology of the past? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. So let's jump in our time machine and head back to the late 1860s. We're in a little workshop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where a pretty simple idea was about to completely change business, literature, and how we all communicate forever. This is where we meet a guy named Christopher Latham Scholes. He was a newspaper publisher who, back in 1868, patented this new machine for printing letters. And this wasn't just any old gadget. Get this. It was eventually manufactured by E. Remington & Sons, a firearms company, and it hit the market in 1874 as the Remington No. 1. It was the world's first commercially successful typewriter.
But here's the crazy part. The machine's biggest legacy wasn't even the machine itself. It was the layout of its keyboard. A layout so common, you're definitely looking at it right now on your phone or your computer. I'm talking, of course, about QWERTY. So why this weird arrangement? Honestly, historians still argue about it. The most famous story is the anti-jamming theory, the idea that Scholes actually designed it to slow people down. He supposedly separated common letter pairs to keep the mechanical arms from crashing into each other. But there's another theory, that it was actually built for speed, specifically for telegraph operators, the first real power users, to help them transcribe Morse code faster. Whatever the real reason, it's stuck. Big time. The Remington was such a hit that its layout just became the standard. It got so dominant that by 1925, a columnist could give this simple piece of advice. If the top row starts with QWERTY, you're good to go. In just a few decades, QWERTY became the gold standard. Okay, so we've got the layout, but how did these awesome machines actually put letters on a page? Before that click was just a sound effect on your phone, it was a real physical and honestly a deeply satisfying thing. So let's break down that mechanical magic. It's really a beautiful piece of analog engineering. First, you press a key. That lifts up a little metal arm, a type bar. Second, that type bar swings up and whacks an inked ribbon. Third, the force pushes the ink off the ribbon and onto the paper, leaving a perfect letter. And finally, the whole carriage that holds the paper just slides one space over, ready for the next letter. So simple, so elegant. Of course, the design didn't stay the same for long. The very first models were blind writers, which is wild. It means you literally couldn't see what you were typing. But then came some huge breakthroughs. In 1878, the Remington No. 2 gave us the shift key, a total game changer. There were even early electric models way back in 1902, but they were a little ahead of their time. It all really peaked in 1961 with the IBM Selectric. That whirring golf ball became the sound of the modern office. But QWERTY didn't become king without a fight. There were all sorts of challengers trying to build a better keyboard. Some, like the Hall typewriter, had you use a pointer to pick letters, kind of like a very old-school touchscreen. Others, like the calligraph, had totally separate keys for uppercase and lowercase, just to get rid of the shift key. And then you had layouts designed purely for speed, like the scientific keyboard, which was an early version of the Dvorak layout. And these competitors were serious. Get this, the company that made the Blickensderfer 5 with that super efficient layout was so sure they were better that if a customer insisted on buying a QWERTY model, they made them sign a form basically admitting they were choosing the inefficient option. Talk about confidence, right? And all of that history brings us right back to where we started, that buzzing tech conference in 2025. Because this whole fascination with old tech, it isn't just nostalgia. It's a full-on retro tech revival. So what is the appeal? Well, it seems to come down to three things. First, the look. Those classic round keycaps and solid metal frames just have a timeless style.
Then there's the sound and feel. That satisfying click, that tactile response. It's just completely gone from our flat glass screens. And finally, and maybe most importantly, there's focus. The physical act of typing creates this real connection to your words, and a lot of people find it helps them tune out distractions and just create. And companies are catering to this in some really cool ways. You've got products like the QWERTY, which looks just like a classic typewriter but connects to your tablet with Bluetooth. Or for the real purists, you can get a kit that lets you convert a real vintage typewriter into a working USB keyboard for your computer. It's the perfect blend of old and new. And that brings us to that gadget from CES, the FreeWrite Word Runner. This thing really nails it. It's a keyboard made for writers, but its coolest features are totally analog-inspired. It's got a big physical word counter that literally clicks forward as you type. It has an LED timer to help you do writing sprints. It's all about bringing that tangible, satisfying feedback from the past into a modern workflow. So here's the real takeaway. The typewriter's legacy is so much more than just the QWERTY layout. It's about the entire experience, the sound, the feel, the focus. And it's this powerful reminder that even as we're racing toward the future, some of the best, most functional designs are just timeless. That click endures because the feeling it gives us is something we still really crave. So from a small workshop in 19th century Milwaukee to the cutting edge of CES, the typewriter story shows that some ideas are simply built to last. The click endures. And if you're interested in bringing some of that tactile magic to your own desk, for more and to purchase, visit our website, Ferris Solution. Thanks for joining me.